It's quite a lot of similar themes actually running through. I think you sort of talked about how disability-wise it's something you have, but it's about living life and getting on. I think that's very much my mindset as well. But for general purposes, so you understand the limitations I have physically, I have something called spinal muscular atrophy, which is similar to muscular dystrophy, and basically since birth it's genetic. I had my first electric wheelchair when I was 3 years old, and mum's and dad's walls have still got the scars from me crashing around the house in those younger years. And yeah, so basically in terms of I can't walk at all, I have to be lifted by a hoist, and David, who's kind of doing the filming today, is one of my PAs, so I have 24-hour care support. So you can see that if you look at what I physically can do, it's actually pretty minimal. But then on to the positive side, I think, you know, we're all here once, and my ethos really is to get out there and live the best life that I can do, and that's been instilled in me since birth from my parents. And there's definitely an angle where my mum and dad, you know, sort of instilled a positive mentality in me from a younger age. So I grew up down the road in St Ives, and went to the local school, a bit like you were saying as well, and all of my friends didn't have a disability, so very much included in the local community. And I think really I can sort of generalise that the way I can tell my story is there's a point up to about 22 where the sort of disability and social media wasn't really as conscious. I was just like any person trying to get their GCSEs, their A-levels, you know, go clubbing, have good friendships and all that world. I then went off to university and I got a degree in economics and a master's in marketing. Travelled to Australia, which was my life dream because it was the other side of the world, and had a great time there. So, you know, as you can see, it's basically an average guy trying to just do the things that people do in the world. You know, sort of, I think we're homing in more on digital technology today, but as a broad touch point, you know, I use the hoist to get lifted out of my wheelchair, I use my wheelchair to get around. So technology has been a running theme that has enabled me, but I've always seen it more as a tool. So you know, I don't get kind of engrossed in the make and model of a hoist or of Twitter, Facebook. I'm not sort of in the tech side, but I use it so it enables me to reach my longer term goals, and that's across the board from life. So job-wise, come out of uni, thought I'd better get a job and start paying the loan off and all that kind of stuff. And really I fell into a job very quickly with the disability charity Scope. They had an office literally around the corner from my parents, so I did a year back in St Ives, and then my other life dream was to move to London and sort of live the whole London city life. So a year later I got transferred through, and my jobs at Scope were HR originally and then fundraising. So the actual day job doesn't link into technology, but what happened was I got a little bit more aware that disability is a social problem, and if I'm honest, I had to come to terms with some elements of identity within myself that, you know, I've always gone about life just getting on and finding solutions, and it was almost helpful to understand my limitations, and that in the winter I get chest infections and working full time can be a little bit more difficult. And so the first part of the sort of over 22 years old of the story was that I felt compelled to sort of share my experiences of being disabled and connect with other disabled people, and that's where the technology kicks in. I went to a conference, a fundraising conference, and this lovely couple from New York did a talk about how they've used social media to sort of enable other charities to do what they want and sell their message, but also to live a lifestyle that they individually wanted. So it's sort of the long part of all the story is that my disability, my values, beliefs and experiences, technology and career have all come into this nice little ball where 2 months ago, so it's early days, I actually was able to leave my day job at Scope, and I now am self-employed and I'm running a social enterprise, which the whole purpose is, as I would say, in a slightly cheesy way, but I mean it at the same time, it is to change the world for disabled people, and I'm using new media to do that. So I've used Twitter to connect with, I think it's over 10,000 people worldwide that are linked to disability. Facebook, similarly to Twitter. I use Vimeo to house the videos off my flip cam, so instead of just blogging and writing about my whatever it could be, travelling abroad or going to work, but experiential things that I've done that I can sort of share with other disabled people, and they can say, have you thought of that, and that was helpful. It's like a learning curve really. I also use the video so people can connect more with me as a person, so I'm not sort of a bigger entity that's talking about disability, but I'm a real person and that actually has a disability and is living life. And I have pictures up on Flickr, and I'm just now naming all the different apps and technology that I use. But you can see really that the tools of social media have enabled me to, one, tell my story, which is that of disability but positivity and achievement. Secondly, to build a community. So I mentioned over 10,000 people worldwide now have interacted with what I'm doing. And then finally there's the call to action, which could be 1,000,001 things, and the latest is I'm running webinars. So last Wednesday we had about 20 parents of disabled young people signed on to one of my webinars where I'd formalised the advice I've been given sporadically for 2 years through my blog into a kind of more of a lecture and then a question and answers.
Can I just ask you to explain what a webinar is, because we don't necessarily all know.
Yeah, so World Wide Web and a seminar, and you put them together and you get a webinar. So it's a seminar online or a presentation, question and answers online. And yeah, the way that would play out is that they would can have up to 1,000 people actually, so it's quite scalable. It was free for the people to sign up because I had some lovely sponsors that enabled me to keep my business sustainable but offer it free to the end user. And they see what's on my laptop, so there's PowerPoint presentation, Excel, spreadsheets, Word documents, websites, whatever it is that I want to use to explain different aspects of what I believe helped me to overcome my disability and live a life that I chose to then enable other people to sort of take some of those and use it for their own life and their own purposes. So yeah, that's broadly my story, but is there any questions on any of the things I've